Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on Wallace and Gromit A Close Shave. Now, as you know, Wallace and Gromit A Close Shave is a 1995 stop-motion animated short film that was co-written and directed by Nick Park and was meant to be the third film in the Wallace and Gromit film short. And I know in 2008 we did get A Matter of Life and Death, which I did cover. And what's actually interesting is there were promos for this with the BBC Two logo causing mayhem around Wallace and Gromit, and the final one having Wallace and Gromit celebrating with the BBC Two logo in lights. And I know the short did air on December the 24th, 1995. So the premise of the film is meant to feature how Wallace and Gromit start their own window cleaning business, and we kind of see how Wallace falls for the shopkeeper who runs a wall business known as Wendolence. And I think Wendolence's character is alright, but I think her character was just thrown in to give Wallace a love interest. And I think what's interesting is this actually does make Wendolence the first human character other than Wallace. And we kind of see how after Wallace and Gromit find the iconic sheep character, Sean, who kind of causes mayhem in the house, and we kind of see how Gromit puts the pieces together and kind of realizes that Wendolence's dog, Preston, is behind the sort of series of rustlings that's been going around the area. And I think for the most part, I think they really do try to go with a darker story, because when you've got Wallace or Gromit reading the newspapers, it kind of confirms that Preston did kill the other sheep because of his temper. And when we do kind of see how Wendolence mentions about her father's death, and even her saying, "Poor Daddy," it kind of gives the implication or the sort of hint that Preston killed him to sort of take control of his work. And you can kind of tell Wendolence is aware about who Preston is, and you can kind of tell does feel responsible for everything that Preston does. And you can kind of tell at the same time Wallace does want things to work with Wendolence, even though it's just kind of not going to work the way it was intended. And I think for the most part, I think they really do try to handle the story well. When we do see how Gromit gets framed and Wallace looking at the newspapers with the other sheep, it really gives you the feel about Wallace being shocked and even saddened about seeing his best friend being thrown into prison, even though Wallace could have testified against him and tried to protect him. And I think for the most part, yeah, when you've almost got near the end of the film, it does take some inspiration from Chicken Run, where we kind of see how Preston has his own sort of dog food sort of machine, similar to how Mrs. Tweety had her own sort of chicken pie machine. And I think the ending, I think, does feel a little anticlimactic, or kind of not really that sort of emotional. I think had the ending just had Wendolence deciding to atone for Preston's crimes, maybe have her go to prison to sort of show she's willing to sort of pay for what Preston did, have Wallace visit her one last time, and have it as soon as he leaves the sort of prison, him and Gromit decide to sort of do a new business, a sort of wall business, in a way to kind of honour Wendolence. I think, yeah, there is a lot more inspiration from this. Like, when you kind of got Wallace and Gromit kind of doing the Thunderbirds thing when they get their sort of window clean gear ready. And I kind of think, yeah, doing a darker, serious storyline makes sense. And it kind of gives you the implication that other sheep were killed by Preston and turned into dog food. I think, yeah, A Close Shave does feel a little anticlimactic, and really, I just think throwing in Wendolence as a love interest to Wallace doesn't really work as much. So I think this one, still deserves thumbs in the middle. It's kind of alright, but kind of okay. And I think the Wallace and Gromit shorts do have good ideas, but I think there is some wasted potential there and there. So I think they still deserve 2 thumbs in the middles. While there is good ideas, you can tell Nick Park really wants to stay with the short animated story thing, with claymation, showing the characters in a different environment and all that. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.